I am really happy to talk about this because I feel like this is one of those things that is so obvious, but so not obvious. And I think that that's where the most magic lies in business sometimes is when we look at the thing that is like, we almost want to brush away that it's so simple, so obvious. But because it's so simple and so obvious, most of us aren't doing it or aren't paying attention to it. And it's where most of the results lie. So that's how I feel about the conversation we're going to have today, which is like, in some ways, so easy to be like, oh, duh, know the point of your strategy. Yeah. Got it. Moving on. But how many of us like actually stop to ask ourselves that? How many of us actually make sure that's true? How many of us actually do check-ins around that, et cetera, et cetera? Like probably not that many. And so letting this be one of those things where it's like, you may already know some of the things I'm going to say, or you may already know you kind of like should be doing this, but it doesn't feel like it will be impactful enough. And I promise you by the end of this conversation today, you're going to see it will be so effing impactful. So stick with me on that. Hey, Shantae, thank you for being here. Also, just a reminder, you guys know every week I always do a giveaway. So if you comment at all today, we're giving away our MSC bundle. Any comment at all, doesn't matter. But yeah, so good. I got so much good feedback on the MSC bundle. Would love to give that to one of y'all today. So any comment just as a thank you for being here and spending your time with me today. So a high counts, whatever you got. Hey, Lori, welcome. Right. So knowing the point of your strategy, how to ensure the actions you're taking will help you get the best results. Like, I'm going to go through specifics in a second because I really want to talk about a lot of different specific strategies that I think will be helpful to break down. So we're going to talk about things like paid masterclasses, reels, like in-depth content, freebies, short programs, different things like that, because I want to just like show you how we could be thinking about these things. But what I want to say first is just kind of like why this can be such a problem and really talk through that a bit. So the reason this can be such an issue in terms of like knowing the point of your strategy is that what happens a lot in our space is we'll see someone else doing a strategy and we'll see it working for them, whatever that means from what we can tell from, just watching, right? It's working for them. And then we're like, oh, I should do that strategy. Like they're doing like insert whatever thing, paid masterclasses. And so I should do paid masterclasses. Like that is how the bulk of our kind of thinking in this space goes a lot. I also think it's how the bulk of our marketing and selling goes in this space. Like I did a paid masterclass and made whatever 50K off of it and got X amount of sales from it. So you should do that too. And what we completely miss in that conversation is why someone is doing it, right? So it's like, yes, that obviously can be a great strategy. That obviously is working well for that person, but we've entirely missed like where they're at in their business, why that was the choice they made, why that was the strategy they implemented, why it actually worked for them. It didn't work because paid masterclasses like are just the best strategy out there. Like that's not a thing. Is anybody with me there? I feel like that can get so misconstrued. Like, oh, that's just like the best strategy. And it's like, nothing is the best strategy, right? Does that make sense? Tell me if you are picking up what I'm putting down. But, ultimately, what you really want to think about is like, what solves the right problem in my business? And what about this strategy do I need to like use or capitalize on to actually see the best results from it? Because that's where I think people get really stuck, as they don't actually even know what the point is. So it's really, really hard to see that through. And it's really, really hard to get the biggest results from it because they're not even doing it to solve the right problem necessarily. And they're not actually knowing what problem it solves to see that through. So that's why we're going to go through some specific examples today, because I think it'll be easier to sort of draw that out. But it's like, most people are doing a strategy because it worked for someone else. Like that's really it, right? And that's what we have to step away from. Hey, Patricia. Hey, Michelle. Hi from me and half my numb face. Well, at least you can still type. We'll take that. Shantae said, yes, makes 100% sense. The best strategy is the one that works best for your business and goals. Yeah, exactly. Tara said, same. Best strategy is the one that works for your business. Exactly. And I think it just gets so lost in translation in our space where nobody's saying that. They're just like, hey, I'm doing this thing and it's getting me X amount of money. I'll teach you how to do that thing. Like nobody's like, and here's how I made the decision to do that. And here's how you would know if this is best for you. And here's why this might be a good, decision for you to make at this point in your business. Like, it's just wild that we're not having these conversations. Like, it's actually crazy if you really think about it. So let's have that. So I was using paid masterclasses as like the example, but we'll just go into that one first because I feel like that's such a trendy one right now. Like everyone is doing a paid masterclass. That's not bad. Like, I don't think I don't think you should not go with the trend if the trend is the right thing for your business. I think that sometimes like in entrepreneurship, it can be easy to be like, oh, I don't want to do that because everyone else is doing it. But again, also a bad reason, right? Like do what is going to work for you. So if what's going to work for you is a paid masterclass, even if everyone else is doing that, fuck yeah, do that, right? It's not about like, don't do it because everyone is, or because you want to seem like you're not. Like those are almost irrelevant. Like don't let those be guideposts. Now, I'm going to give these examples. And what I want to say before I do that is that I'm just going to talk about what these are like typically used for. It doesn't mean someone's always using a paid masterclass in the way that I'm going to talk about it, right? Like, of course, there are different ways to do it. Of course, there are outliers, but for the purpose of this conversation, I kind of had to pick something specific, and I picked like what in general is the most useful thing for this. So just know that this is not without nuance, but for the purposes of this conversation, we're just going to like narrow in. Okay. So what would be the point of doing a paid masterclass? Let's talk about that. Typically, the point is to know and target your warm leads more fully. Right. So it's sort of that idea of like, once someone buys from you once, they're more likely to buy from you again. And it's that idea of like, if I have quite a big audience, it can be really hard to know like who's warm, who's not, who might I even do outreach to, who might I connect more with, what are people interested in, all of that kind of stuff. It can be really, really confusing. And so a paid masterclass can be such an epic way to get all the people in your audience that are interested on one specific topic and that are warm enough that they want to pay you. Like really, really effective in that way, right? Hey guys, hey Morgana, no problem, Steph. Thank you for being here. So like an epic strategy in many ways, and you can see why a lot of people are doing it, but you can also see how if you don't already have a bigger audience and a lot of warm leads, you could be really, really frustrated doing a paid masterclass. You could be like, gosh, like, why is everyone else making 50K off paid masterclasses and I can barely sell 3, right? And then you could really get down on yourself being like, oh my gosh, my business is broken. Things don't work. I have the wrong audience. Like everything is wrong. And really, it's just like, that just wasn't the right strategy to implement at that point in your business. There's not necessarily anything broken in your business. You're just solving the entirely wrong problem. But how many fucking people in our space are just watching it blow up for other people? So they're doing it and then they're not getting that result. And they're like, what the shit? This is horrible. That's why. And it's what makes a lot of people stop or quit their businesses before they ever should or ever would need to or ever had any like real data that suggested they should, because they're just doing the wrong thing, right? And so again, it's not like paid masterclass isn't a great strategy. For the right person, I think it's actually an epic strategy. And I think it's a really useful way to get clear on who your warm leads are, get people feeling comfortable purchasing from you, have value given to them, et cetera, et cetera. I would say a large portion of my clients have used that in some way, shape, or form, and specifically have used it to then upsell into larger programs, right? Like, because now you know who your warm leads are. And if you can go to those warm leads, start conversations, target them, et cetera, like the likelihood that then they buy a higher level thing from you is much, much greater. And so it's not even just about what you're going to make off a paid masterclass. It's about what you make past that in terms of the upsells. And so again, like would totally depend on, do you even have that actual, like that offer above it to sell them into? And do you have an audience that's large enough and warm enough that it makes sense to target your leads? Like that's really what you want to think about there. So you might be listening to this and being like, oh my God, I can't believe I hadn't thought of that strategy. That's such a good idea for me and where I'm at. Or you might be listening to this being like, oh, that makes approximately 0 cents for me. But it's just important to actually think about the why behind it so that you can have that discernment, right? Stephanie said, what the shit? LOL, exactly. Copying what others is not the thing that works. Love that. Yes, totally. Right. So, okay. Another thing is like, let's use reels. By the way, if you guys have some strategy that you want me to use as an example, feel free to drop it. I'm happy to, but I'm just doing some like basic ones that are like really, the thing right now. So for reels, like, I think this is also where people get confused. Can reels work? Absolutely. I would say like it's changing a little bit now, but like up until recently have been like the best way to create views and reach on Instagram, right? But again, I think this is where people get stuck, is they're not thinking about it like, oh, I'm creating a reel to get reach or to reach new audiences. So they're making reels that are like just for like a person that's already super familiar with them or knows them or whatever. And then maybe aren't seeing conversions off that and they're getting super frustrated. And so for my clients, I'm saying like make reels where like if it landed on someone's explore page, like they would connect with that right away. Like it would feel like, oh my gosh, yes, like this is content I want to consume, versus making a reel for someone that's like maybe been following you for a year, right? Because the point isn't to convert someone that's been following you for a year. The point more than likely, again, there can be outliers here, but the point more than likely is to get more people finding you and interested in you. And so you kind of have to treat it as that. / you have to have a bigger strategy on the back end of that. So if your goal is to get more people interested in you, then what? Then how are we warming them up? Then what are we doing with them? Then how are we connecting with them more? But if you spend all your time just doing reels all day without thinking about who they're for and why, and without thinking about what you're doing on the back end of that, you're going to be really frustrated. Although you might be looking at someone else who's doing reels all day and seeing them blow up and being like, I just have to do more. Why am I not, like getting the results? Well, that's why you really need to make sure you understand the point behind it, understand the strategy behind it, and are actually fully playing that out. Does this make sense, guys? So it's like every strategy in your business, I really would love for you to sit down and be like, what is the full picture behind what the point of this is, why I would be doing it, and how it would lead to more, you know what I mean? More of what I want. And how is that going to happen? Is it just this strategy, or am I going to have to implement other things on top of it to actually get what I want? So like with reels, it might not be just that strategy. You might have to implement other things on top of that to ultimately get what you want. If it's like more clients, more sales, et cetera, right? And so going in with eyes wide open to that is what is going to make you feel really grounded and clear and rooted in your business. Just doing a bunch of reels because you've heard that's the thing is going to make you feel insane, honestly. Right. And it's this thing that people get in where they're like, I'm working so hard, I'm showing up so much, and I'm not getting the results I want. 9 times out of 10, this is why, because they haven't really thought out what is the point of this strategy? What else do I need to make this strategy the most successful? Right. Awesome, Lori. Thank you, Lori. This makes total sense. Patricia said, can you speak about podcast strategy? Lots of people coming out with podcasts this year. Yeah, great one. So what I always ask my clients whenever they tell me like, oh, I'd love to start a podcast, I always say, okay, amazing. Do you want it to be more of a conversion tool or more of a growth tool, like an audience growth tool? And again, not that it can't be both, but we really want to know the purpose behind it. So for me, literally is entirely a conversion tool. Has it grown my audience? Absolutely. Sure. 100%, but that's not the point. The point is that someone can listen to literally and know exactly how I coach and know if they vibe with that or not, and know if they want to hire me. And 9 times out of 10, most of the people that are hiring me listen to literally, really like that, and decide that they want me to be their coach. That's why I did literally. right? Like it was entirely conversion. I was not like, oh, this is going to blow up my audience. This is going to be like, taking me to the next level in terms of my email list or whatever. Like absolutely none of that was the point at all. Again, has it grown my audience? Sure, because it's like more people listen, more people recommend it, et cetera, et cetera. Like it's not that there's no audience growth attached to it. It's just that like that's a beautiful bonus. It's not the purpose I think of when I go to do it, right? Where for someone else, hey Heather, good to see you. Thank you so much. I'm so glad you're liking it. So for someone else, they might do a podcast for the complete opposite reason, where they're like, I really, really want to grow my audience. And so they're going to have way more guests, right? Because those guests are then going to share it with their audience, and that's going to get them more known and more growth. Obviously, on Literally, we don't have guests in the traditional sense at all. So that's not a growth strategy I could even use, right? But for someone else, they might be like, okay, amazing. I'm going to have whatever, 3 guests on a month, and then I'm going to get exposure to those 3 guest audiences, and then I'm going to get more listeners, and that's going to grow and grow and grow. But it may be less of a conversion tool for them in the sense that they're more featuring the guests than themselves in a lot of it. So it's like creating growth in the sense that like they're getting known, maybe those people are listening and then doing something else with them, but they'd have to have a different conversion tool on the back end of that, right? Like they might have to go from the podcast to like a free masterclass or something like that, where then those people got warmed up to them and had a different conversion opportunity. But of course, you're going to have like less conversion if you're always featuring a guest, but you're going to have more growth. Does that make sense? So it's like, you just really want to know what's the fucking point so you can tailor it to that, right? If the point is conversion, definitely don't have guests all the time, right? Like if the point is growth, have guests a lot and think really intentionally about like what guests you're having. And do you want exposure to their audience? Does that make sense for you? Right? So you could see though how someone could start a podcast like Literally and be like, oh my God, it's not growing my audience in the way that I wanted it to. Podcast suck, fuck this, right? But like it's not the point, So something I would just really say with the podcast thing too is that a podcast is quite a big undertaking. Oh, thanks, Steph. Listen to every episode. So good. Yes. Awesome, Patricia. Yeah. So a podcast is quite a big undertaking. If any of you have one, I'm sure that you know this. It's bigger than it seems, right? And so you really want to feel so locked in on what that's going to do for you and your business so that you can, one, actually track that, right? Like get the data on it. Like if you want it for audience growth, can you attribute audience growth to the podcast? Like these are things we need to know. Again, like this is why I'm obsessed with data and Dateable, because it's like, let's know the strategy and then let's actually track the data to see if that is working, right? If you want if the goal of the podcast is conversions, cool. How are we tracking the data on how many people convert from the podcast? When I look at that, for me, it's a no-brainer to keep doing the podcast, even if it's not giving me 1,000 new people on my email list a month. Like it literally doesn't matter, right? Steph said, follow-up question with podcasts. Do you not see a strategy for solo podcasts for growth? Do I not see so I guess what I mean there, Steph, is like, I think it will just grow more organically or, like you could run ads to a solo podcast, but you have to have ways to get it exposed to new audiences, right? So maybe like for me, when I launch Literally, sometimes I'll do like a launch team and my launch team will win prizes and they'll share the podcast with their audiences. And so technically that is like a growth strategy for Literally in the sense that like it's getting exposed to other audiences. So that's a way to grow. I could run ads to Literally episodes. So that would be like a growth tool potentially too. But I wouldn't have designed Literally the way I did if the only purpose was growth. So I'm not saying growth can't come from it. I'm just saying I would have designed it really different if that was like the entire point. So like, yes, I think solo podcasts can grow for sure. But again, I think it's probably a little slower and more organically, or I think you're probably going to want to put some money behind it, because ultimately it is just about getting it in front of more people. And if the way you're doing that now is like someone listens and then tells a friend or whatever, like that is just going to be slower. You know what I mean? So yeah, I think, kind of both, but again, like having that North Star, tracking that North Star is everything. Okay, let's see. What else do I have? If anybody has another thing they want me to talk about, Patricia said podcast, anything else I'm here for. Another thing I want to talk about is like freebies, right? Like so we talked about like paid masterclasses, but let's talk about like a freebie to get someone on your email list, whether that's like a free masterclass or free challenge, whatever. Do we know the point of that? I think what people think the point of it is sometimes is just to make a sale, right? Like I do this thing and then they come and then I make a sale. And that can happen, but I really think in our industry now, it's happening less and less because I think buyer timelines have extended. Again, I'm talking generalities, I'm not talking about everyone. But I think overall, because our industry is more saturated, I do think someone typically needs to follow you a bit longer before they buy. And so having like a freebie strategy, it's not just how do we get them to buy, it's like how do we get them on our list to warm them up so that they buy at some point, right? And so that means you have to email your list, right? Like this is something I see people do wrong all the time too. Like they push a freebie, push a freebie. And like maybe that person goes through a quick sequence or something and then they're like, oh, they didn't convert, they didn't buy, people aren't buying. And it's like, well, like, but are you still talking to them? Like, are you still emailing your list regularly? And they're like, no, they didn't buy. Like, yeah, I don't even really email my list. And it's like, but like you missed the point of the strategy. The strategy was to get them on your list so that you could communicate with them regularly so that you could create buyers over time, right? Someone might jump off the fence in a month. Someone might jump off the fence in 3 months. Someone might jump off the fence in a year, but you consistently communicating with them is so important because you did all the work to get them on your list, right? So that's something I would really think about with the freebie thing too. And again, it's going to kind of depend on the business and whatever, but I feel like that's gotten like free stuff feels like it's gotten such a bad rap in our industry lately. Does anybody agree with me on that? It feels like everyone's almost like, I should not have to ever do a free thing. Maybe I'm just like hearing bits and pieces of it, but I'm like curious if y'all see that too. But it's like the free thing has such a place in your business if you know the strategy behind it. If you're just trying to like do a free thing and get someone to then pay you $20,000, yeah, you're probably going to feel like it's a waste of time because it probably is, right? And I feel like then that's why it gets a bad rap because it's like it didn't immediately convert to like a super high ticket client or something. And it's like, because that wasn't the strategy. It probably wasn't going to work like that. So naming that, I think free stuff still has like a massive place in business. Like, I don't know how someone else would follow you and decide that you are the right fit for them without getting some experience of you, right? Like, I just think that's how it is. So really, sorry, I can hear him. He's in a screamy face. But anyway, that's really like the thing is we have to know the point so that it feels good, so that it feels helpful, so that we can be like, oh, this is for someone to get an experience of me. Duh. How can I like facilitate that? How can I lean into that? How can I make that a positive thing instead of it feeling like bad or negative that someone is like coming to try that experience for free, right? So I've said I'm more so seeing the frustration of the immediate conversion you were just speaking to. Yeah, that makes sense too, right? And I think that can be why it like almost gets a bad rap, right? Where it's like, oh, that stuff doesn't work. And it's like, I think that's in part true. I think it works less as like you've found me, followed me for this one thing, and then immediately bought high ticket. I do think that has changed a bit, but it doesn't mean it doesn't work. It just means the buyer cycle has lengthened. And so it actually still is even more important in many ways to have those free touch points so that someone can warm up to you and then know they want to buy from you, right? Like I think all the time about like, do I want to do like a small paid thing or whatever? And for me, the strategy is never makes that much sense for what I want in my business right now. I would rather have more people come for free, learn from me, warm up to me, get on the wait list, and then want to buy, which is why we have a big wait list, which is why that's working really well in our business, because I'm happy for people to like come to the free shit and warm up. I'm not like, I would rather make, $60 here off that person. Like that's just a great business strategy sometimes, but for me, it's not it, even though I could do that. So just like wanting to name, like you might be able to sell the things and you might still pick freebies or a free offer like that. And so I think that that's just helpful to see and think about, because I feel like sometimes it's almost like if I could charge for it, I should always. And that's not always the case either. Again, you kind of have to know the point behind it for you. For me, the point is get people like warm and excited about working with me, get them on the wait list, and then feel like when we have a wait list spot, we know that there are going to be people there that want it. Way more valuable to me than do a bunch of small paid things and, keep selling those. Like I'd rather sell my wait list, so to speak, right? Patricia said, yes, I have my Facebook group as my freebie because I want to build that relationship. Yeah, totally. Okay, so another one that I feel like is a thing. Here, let's hit Tara said. Tara said, I've definitely seen the taboo of having freebies or doing free calls, but I think you're exactly right. It's all about considering the strategy of it and why you're doing it. I love doing free calls so I can connect with people and get to know them and help them in their business. And at some point, possibly with them, if it's a fit, it's also great for testimonials. Tara, I could not agree more. I feel like you are about to entirely derail our live stream. I'm teasing you, but you're about to entirely derail our live stream, because I could go on and on for like eternity about why I think free calls are so valuable and why I feel like so many people in our industry do not get the most out of that, because they're writing them off because it's supposed to look a certain way immediately, or it's supposed to like convert that second and they're like missing this huge opportunity to get so much value and to get so much what's the word I even want to use? Like, yeah, value in return, I guess is what I want to say, right? Like it's not even just about the value you give to someone else. It's the value you get out of those calls for your business, your warm leads pipeline, your market research, on and on and on. Oh my gosh, my free call people. Yes. Hey, Annetta. Yeah, Steph would love free calls. Shantae offers free calls. So good. Yeah, that's the strategy for you. Annetta loves launch it and still offers free calls. Yes. For me, a call is a chemistry session. That's so good. I love that. 100%. Free calls only makes me a better coach. I love them. Right. So much data and learning. Exactly. And I think it's so easy. I mean, okay, now Tara, it's all your fault. No, I'm kidding. But I am going to say this because I'm like, I cannot not say this since we're on this conversation, but I feel like I'm so over this idea of like, oh, then it's just attracting people who just want a free thing. And it's like, yes, they do want a free thing. And that doesn't have to be bad. Just like someone wants to watch this live stream for free. Like that is not a bad thing. That is an entry point, right? That is how we start to get to know a brand usually. You know what I mean? Almost everything, starts with that entry point. So just like, let's not act like there are all these like freebie hunters running around trying to like, hurt your business and take your time. Like that is not a thing, right? I feel like I've been in this industry for long enough that I can say that every single freebie hunter person that people felt like was just wanted something for free buys from someone. But like the way they're not going to buy from you is if you're not willing to let them experience something for free at first. And I think this idea that is like a low level person, or that's like, not a valuable client or something because they liked having something for free is just so damaging. Like, you bet your ass I'm going to expect something for free and to consume someone's content and have interaction in some way before I pay them $10,000. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, the fact that we act like that's crazy is what's crazy to me. Like, what? So anyway, totally different topic, pedestal, whatever. But like, yeah, no, if you know the strategy behind it, it makes sense and you feel good about it. If you feel like, oh my God, I'm just supposed to offer this thing for free and I hate this, and like, you know, all these people are going to take from me and whatever, like, of course it feels bad, but like, have you really thought about this strategy? Have you really played it out? Have you really seen how this is going to impact your business and know the point behind it? Like, that's the difference, right? Shantae said, have all of your freebies and have still bought from you. So agreed. Thank you, Shantae. And I just said, love your way of seeing things, totally resonate. Thank you. Since I said I have to be very careful when this topic comes up in a group because I can get very passionate about how freebie seekers aren't a problem. Oh my God, me too. I could literally talk about that ad nauseum. Like, this is not a problem. Yes, all freebie seekers buy something, right? Like, and again, I think all of us have been that at some point. Like, who hasn't been a freebie seeker? Like, I certainly have gotten a freebie from someone. Like, what? Like, why is that bad? You know what I mean? It's just freaking bananas. Just that sometimes I also just download something for free so I can get on their list and snoop them if I want to work with them. And you just never know why people are opting in. 1,000%, 1,000%. Michelle said, I used to work at university and loved getting free things, free clothes, food, and then eventually got tired of the free stuff. I didn't need t-shirts anymore, so I started paying for clothes. Living proof that even people who love freebies or pull out their wallets. Yes, exactly. Thank you, Shanzai. You are totally welcome to be one of mine. And I said I would never ever invest in a mentor without a discovery call. Same. In the beginning of my business, I signed up for everything. Right. And I think that happens too, Steph. And I appreciate you saying that. Like, I think sometimes at the beginning of someone's business, they do just go sign up for everything. And so that's when someone's like, oh, this person is just like signing up for everything. They're just like a, you know, a freebie hunter or whatever. And it's like, no, they're just trying to figure their shit out. And if they sign up for yours and get the most value from it, guess who they're coming back to buy from? You know what I mean? Yes, you keep doing free events for the freebie seekers. 100%. Like, come on down. Right. And Shantae said if someone is opting into your freebie, that's a good sign, right? Why would we have them and then be mad if someone's sick? Or it's almost like then we're mad if they did too many or something, right? Like, it's like, well, they were allowed one and now they've done three and I'm mad. And it's like, or the fourth one is when they buy, like, can we celebrate that, right? And can we see that as positive? And so, yeah, I think, but I really feel like it so comes back to this like foundational misunderstanding of what the point of that strategy was. If you think the free, you should offer something for free once and everyone should convert, like, you are going to be massively frustrated with that strategy, which is fair. And I also think that sometimes that's how it gets positioned. And that's why people get frustrated, because it's almost like someone's like, oh, I did one masterclass and made 100K. Well, there's probably like a million steps behind that in terms of like where they are in their business and with their audience and whatever that isn't getting mentioned. And so it is frustrating to someone who's been like, well, I ran one and I didn't even get a single sale. Like, fuck this. And it's like, there's just a lot more nuance there. But I think knowing the point behind it is where you actually get to have fun with the strategy instead of making it wrong. Shantae said, haha, totally. I've seen people publicly get mad at their audience for opting into their freebie. And I'm like, wait, that's a great thing sign. Oh my God, stop. How is this the world we live in? Imagine a message. You hit your freebie cap access denied. Oh my God, so funny. And I also feel like if there was a way to do that, some people would literally do that in their business. They'd be like, perfect. Where do I get that software? But right, like, I think that most of the time, it's not that we have the wrong audience or something, right? In fact, for me, it's like always a bit of a challenge for me. It's like, okay, like, if people are like opting into this stuff and not buying from me, like, that's just a leak in my funnel. How do I get excited about that? How do I see that as an opportunity? Again, this is why I love Dateable, because I feel like it makes it more neutral. It's like a funnel leak. It's not like a personal attack, right? Like it's almost like I was saying, like freebie hunters are like coming around, like, you know what I mean? And it's like that they're not personally attacking you. This isn't a thing. This is just like, if you look at your funnel, this is where the drop off point is. What can we tweak there? What can we fix? Like it's so depersonalized. Like, in fact, it's super good news. Like Shantae is saying that they like you enough to like give you their email and to like hang out on your list. What can we do to make that go better for you? Right? These truly get to be opportunities and aren't like these negative things. And I feel like when we position it as such a negative, we're totally missing the point of like the fact that it's just a business that we're running and there's like a strategy behind it, right? Tara said, I'm so glad we're talking about this because there are so many people basically saying you shouldn't give away anything for free that it almost, oh shoot, it went away. The comments were moving too fast. Tara, is there any chance you could copy and paste that again? I'm so sorry because I really, really wanted to hear what that was. Yeah, and Steph just said, great question. The funnel is working if they're opting in. Right. Like, isn't that funny, Shantae, that's like, yeah, yes. Jess said, going from what's wrong with me to how can I go from a 6% conversion to 7% is so life-changing. Your way with words. In fact, can I take that and use that? That's going to be like in my dateable content next week, everybody. Just stay tuned. But it's so true, right? It's so helpful to be like, why is my audience suck to I have a funnel leak? Or like you said, how do I go from 6% to 7%? Like that is like, okay, you said take it, great. We're going to just copy and paste right here. Also, you guys see, this is like the value of free stuff because now Jess just wrote the dateable content I need for next week. So it's all worth it. Shandy said it's hilarious, but I'm glad you're facilitating this conversation because it's so important for us to see this larger perspective. Right. Totally. We have to know the point of a strategy. We have to be able to like track it with data and see if it's working. And then we have to like depersonalize the shifts that we have to make there. Right. Like, your audience doesn't just want freebies from you. There is a leak in your funnel. That's like actually what's happening, you know? Thank you, Jess. And this is actually a really good conversation too. We're going off topic today, guys. Forget the topic, but one of my clients, she's a great student and she has built all of her dashboards. And we were looking at her dashboards the other day for something, and she had kind of come to me and been like, listen, you know, I don't know if this piece of my business is working. Like, I don't know if it's just time to like, you know, light a match and put it on fire or what. Like, I'm really feeling frustrated. And I was like, okay, like, let's look at your dashboards when we meet this week. So we look, we're like going through them, and it's like her funnel is working so well, like mind-blowingly well. Like I had to like look at the numbers like a few times. I was like, wait, you're getting that many people that visit your sales page to the checkout page? Like I've literally never seen that ever. So there's that. But what was happening is she was getting, I'm talking like literally like 90% of the people that visited the sales page were checking out. And it wasn't even to see price because price was on the sales page. So they're like getting to checkout, but like not really buying. And so it was so helpful to just have the data and the depersonalization of it to be like, your entire funnel is working except for when they're getting to checkout. So like, how can we look at the checkout page? How can we overcome objections? Do we need, you know, to like do an extended payment plan? Like there's so much we can fix here, but like, you don't need to burn it all down. In fact, it's probably performing better than like 90% of other fucking funnels out there, except for this one part at the end. So if you've gotten this far down the line and this much is working, let's not change shit there. Let's just work on this one piece at the end. But that's the value of all of this, is like, we know every other piece of the strategy is working. Like the point of this is to get them on the list. The point of them being on the list is to get them to the sales page. The point of them being on the sales page is to get them to checkout. Like all of that is working. And we like can see that the point of all of that is coming to fruition. There's one piece that's not working how we want it to. Fine, easy, fix it, right? Also, again, depersonalize. You don't need to burn your business down. You don't have the wrong audience. Like this is actually performing super well. One fix, right? Oh, thank you, Tara. Tara said, so glad we're talking about this because there are so many people that are against giving away for free, giving anything away for free. Then it makes you feel like you are doing it wrong if you do and actually like it and find it useful. Could not agree more. And I'm so, I don't know if I said this on a live stream or if I just said this to my clients recently, but I was saying that, you know how everybody's like, I'm in my something era. I'm in my rage era lately. Welcome. I don't know how long we'll be here, but it's happening right now. And like that kind of shit makes me so ragey because it harms new entrepreneurs so much, because the way you're going to build an online brand as a new entrepreneur is to give a ton of value for free. And the idea that we're making that wrong is just limiting the market, and it's making everyone feel like shit. And I just cannot stand it. Yes, 90%. Exactly. Freaking nuts, right? Like literally insane. But she could have burned that down. Love a good rage era. Yes, me too. I'm actually enjoying it, I gotta say. Stephanie said it's so easy to get caught up in thinking things don't work when we're not getting the conversions we want, but closure inspection can reveal key holes or pieces that can be tweaked and make a world of difference. Completely agree. Thank you, Tara. Yeah, like so crazy, right? And I mean, like literally that 90% thing, I like redid the calculations like 3 times. I'm like, this is insane, absolutely insane. So this is why we got to like know the stuff behind it. We got to understand the strategy. We got to depersonalize it. We want to look at it like a business instead of it being like, oh, if you give away something for free, like you're attracting like low level clients or you're a shitty business owner or whatever. And it's like, or I just have a strategy behind that that makes a lot of sense and works for me, for my business, for my audience, and I'm going to run with that. And like, that's where all of our power comes from. Like, people make a lot of money off the shamey marketing because it makes you feel like, well, I have to then buy something from them because I have to figure out how to not do that this way. But like, at the end of the day, like, that's really what's working. It's not that they're not offering anything for free, it's that they're doing shame-based marketing that's making you buy. Like, again, let's actually know the strategy behind it. That's really what it is. You're like, oh my God, I feel so bad that I'm like offering something for free. Like, I obviously need to buy from this person to figure out like how I like attract higher level clients, or don't do that, or how I get people to pay me right away, or whatever, right? It's like so crazy. Which is why I'm in my rage era, guys. Lately, I've just been like, I cannot with all this. But so valuable to just be able to, and like maybe in your business, it doesn't make sense to do a freebie thing. Like, is there a world in a business in which that doesn't make sense? Absolutely. But it would not be because you'd be bad if you did. It's because you would know the strategy behind it and that just didn't fit you or your business, right? Jensai said, well, and customer buying cycles have been getting so much longer recently. Shady marketing practices are making people nervous to buy before they are certain it will actually be valuable, and that takes time and valuable. I could not agree more. I don't even know if you're on here, but I actually literally said that earlier. Like, the buyer cycle is just getting longer. It just is. And I think, like you said, I think there's so many reasons for it. I think there's market saturation. I think there's definitely like people that are just like more and more scared. I think you want to feel like you know the person better and better just because there's so much out there. And I, honestly, like maybe this is a whole other live stream. I just do think it takes longer to grow now than it ever has. And like, I don't feel like that's great news for most people. But I just think it's true. And I think that we all need to be a little bit more honest about that too. Because then it's not just like, oh, this strategy isn't working. It's like, are pieces of this strategy working that is leading to growth? You know what I mean? Like, that's really what we need to be focusing on. So do you know the point behind everything you're doing? If something kind of shiny comes up and you're like, oh, everyone's doing that, I should do that. By all means, consider it, but make sure it works for you. Make sure it works for your business. Make sure you know the actual point behind it, and make sure you know everything else that's going to be associated with that. One very, very quick other example I was going to give on that front of like know everything else associated with it is like, I feel like just really small programs are quite a thing that are the rage too. And the thing is, very short programs are probably not the best business model because you have to sell them all the time. You cycle through them very quickly. like, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. They're a good business model when they upsell into something else. But again, don't just go do a bunch of small programs because you see that working. Do it because you have the thing that they could upsell into and you could see how that funnel could work really well, as opposed to just being like, oh, everyone's doing this, let me go do short programs. That's how you burn out, because then you're doing like a lot of them, right? And you're like, why is this not working for me? How it seems to be working for other people. And it's like, well, because those other people are all upselling into a longer term program that has more lifetime value attached to that client. And that is like, you know, a longer term program. It's not just 3 weeks or something. So also keep that in mind. Patricia said, I think when you are truly in for service, you are okay with offering free. Plus, the more the clients are becoming aware of them, the more time they are taking to make the investment. Yep, totally. Just said, not to confuse all the rage with raging lazy. Different things, for sure. I'm not all the rage. I'm just in rage. Yeah. So anyway, that was just one other example I wanted to use, those small programs where it's like, there's other pieces off the back of that strategy that have to be in place for that to work really well and make a lot of sense. If you're listening to literally this season, like Sabrina and I talk about how her small programs work and make a lot of sense because she has these higher level programs that it filters into. But it's like she had those higher level programs first, and those were working well. Then she got the smaller programs filtering into it. So it was like part of a much bigger, longer term strategy, right? We just have to know these things. So that is my soapbox. That is my big like rant of the day, but mostly my rage is directed at people that hate freebies. I know. I feel like I need to like make a little graphic of like a freebie hunting gremlin or something like that. Maybe we'll attach my little voice to it, but like definitely that is where my rage is today. But in general, I do think you should know the point of your strategy. And I think you should be able to depersonalize it, treat your business like a business, and really look at the steps. What makes sense for you. I think that having data to do that is everything. And I also think that having the mindset in place that helps you step back, take a look at things, and really see it for what it is instead of seeing it as like something you are doing wrong or failing at is so important, because a lot of times you're not, you know what I mean? Like you're not really failing at all. You're just doing the wrong thing to solve the problem they have in your business. So that is that. Thank you, Patricia. I will pass those kisses along. I'm sure you guys have heard him this full time. He's just so funny right now. So funny. So much personality in such a little thing. It has been so fun. So I love you guys. I hope this was helpful. If you guys have questions, if you watch the replay and you have questions, feel free to post them. Let me know, here to answer them. Yeah. And remember, we're giving away the MSC bundle if you commented and joined us today. So thank you guys for being here. I will be back next Monday. I think I have a special guest coming next Monday, which should be really fun conversation. So I will see y'all then. Bye guys.